Weather and significant drops in temperature. The South African Weather Service says these conditions will continue into tomorrow and will only start to clear up from Wednesday. Johannesburg Emergency Services have been inundated with calls by people in trouble, especially regarding fire and traffic incidents. Earlier, we spoke to Johannesburg's Emergency Services spokesperson, Robert Mulaudzi, on their readiness to respond to these emergencies.
Our disaster management officials throughout the city, together with our disaster management center, is fully operational from last night, since we received information that we will be getting some cold and wet weather conditions throughout the city of Johannesburg. Our main forecast will be our 189 informal settlements throughout the city, because we know when we have this cold and wet weather conditions, those will be the hardest hit. Of course, also the residents in our formal residential areas, we also want to urge them to make sure that they don't leave their heating devices like heaters unattended, so that we can be able to prevent fire incidents during this time.
And what ways can people be safe during some of these cold conditions? What sort of precautions can one take?
Firstly, on the roads, as they go to work, come back from work, most of the roads throughout the city are wet, so we urge our motorists to extend the safe following distance, obey rules of the road, and of course, most importantly, to avoid areas where flooded bridges and flooded roads, and we encourage them to use alternative routes. And also our residents who are at home, who might be feeling cold ones, to warm themselves, we're urging them to make sure that the heating devices, which most of this time causes fire in our homes, heaters, paraffin stoves, candles, are not left unattended, so that at home we can be able to prevent fire incidents, and also in our roads we can also be able to prevent motor incidents, because during this time, when we have these cold, wet weather conditions, we normally have a number of, a huge number of motor vehicle accidents which are recorded in our roads.
Something that is quite concerning that we've seen, in the last couple of years, is the attacks that medical personnel as well as EMS services are experiencing when you're actually getting to a scene trying to help people, that have been in an accident or in a disaster case. What is being done to protect you guys on the ground to be able to be there for any of the residents or injured passengers?
From our side, we right now have intensified our protection in terms of emergency services personnel. When we go to emergencies, we are having a protection from SABC and also JMPD, but to be honest with you, it's not an ideal situation because it actually puts us more vulnerable to to attacks as we go out to these incidents. That is the reason why we say our residents, they need to make sure that they work with us to be able to prevent this attack, so that we can be able to render this service freely without any disruptions. But however, from our side, we have intensified that, because we have realized that the attacks are going on. So before we even think of maybe having some no-go areas, we are using the services of our SABC and also our JMPD to make sure that our emergency services personnel are protected.